Hi everyone, my name's Charlie and I've helped over 150 people in the UK win their PIP or ADP claims. I also receive PIP myself. For those of you that don't know, those of us in England and Wales, it's called PIP, Personal Independence Payment. Those of you in Scotland, it's called ADP, Adult Disability Payment. This is going to be the best step-by-step guide I have ever done for a PIP claim. And it doesn't matter where you are in the process, it is worth you watching this guide. I'm going to be really structured about how I do this. So for you to get the most out of this guide, have a pen, paper. If you can, print the points off. So in the description, there's a link to the website. These are the government points, not mine. There'll be a link there so you can print them off. If you don't have a printer, just get a pen and paper. And as we go through things like preparing food, you'll be able to write it down, okay? You are not going to make many notes. I'm going to help you focus on what is unique to you. That is how you win PIP. It's about current daily life. You need to be able to communicate on average what your current daily life is like. And I'm going to show you examples of that as we go through this. And throughout the process, I'm going to keep asking you questions to get you thinking about your life. That is how you win. Obviously, I'm going to help you understand the process and how to word it so that they, the DWP, get it. We need them to get it, okay? You've got to be honest throughout. Honest throughout. Never just tell them about your worst days, because that's being fraudulent and it will cause you issues in the future. If you just tell them about your worst days, that means that when you go out, it looks like you are a liar. So stick with me because I promise I know what I'm doing. This is really important. This is how you work out, are you entitled to this? I say PIP and ADP scars us. It can, done right, change our lives, but the process is scarring. Scar. Are you safe? Are you consistent and reliable? Every time we go through a section of PIP and ADP, I want you to write down SCAR. Am I safe? Write that at the top of your piece of paper. Okay, so I've written mine there. Before we get into the process, I want to remind you what PIP and ADP is. It's split into two sections, daily living, which has 10 sections, and mobility, which has 2 sections. We're going to go through them bit by bit and we're going to check out the points. So these are the points for preparing food. When you go through this, you have to paint a picture of your life. This is unique to you. So if, for example, you sit down to cook, you use a microwave, so that's 2 points. You use a microwave, so that's 2 points. But you also need supervision because your ADHD is off the charts and you will wander off and leave something until you start a fire. 4 points. That's not 4, 5, 6, 7. That's not 8 points in total. They give the highest point that is relevant to you. But you can't just go for the 4 points. You have to paint the picture of what your life is like. And I will go through this in every section. We will talk about the points because everything comes back to these. You have to understand the point system. Otherwise, how can you communicate clearly? If you don't understand where you fit in this point system, how are they supposed to figure it out? It's very difficult. I'm so happy that you're watching. This section is really important. Engaging with other people face to face, mixing with others. This does not mean people you know and trust. It's everyone else. This can be family members that you aren't 100% comfortable with since you've been chronically ill, all the way through to strangers. Now, everyone I work with, let's say not everyone, over 80% of the clients I work with are entitled to some award in this section, whether they realise it or not. So if you think that I think I'm all right in this one, I'd say keep watching. Unless you're in a position where you are mixing with strangers and you don't blink about it, it's the norm for you. In which case, I'm so happy for you. Skip, go to the next section. We're going to look at ADP, but we're more going to focus on the points and me talking to you about it, okay? Because this one, I spend If someone books time with me, we will spend a minimum of 20 minutes talking about feelings, because if we were talking right now, if we were doing a meeting right now, instead of me being on YouTube, you were actually interacting with me, which, by the way, it's happened where I've been talking to someone, I've been asking them questions, and they've forgotten that we're actually in a meeting, and they think that it's just YouTube. So it's just like this. I'm just like this, right? So this is how it'll go. I'm kind of skipping a bit, but I just want to get to the meaty bit on this. How do you feel when a stranger comes near you and says, "Morning, how do you feel?" Think about, let's start easy. Think about the physical first. What's happening with your heart? What's happening with your skin? Are you sweating? Have you gone cold? Are you shaking? Then we're going on to the difficult bit. What's going through your mind? How do you feel? What are you thinking? Really, really dig deep for this. If you are thinking something bad and you've not said it out loud before, and you don't want to say it out loud because it's your inner thoughts, and you don't want to share the things that go through your mind, that's it. That's what you need to put on the form. You need to put, when someone approaches me, I think, and write down whatever it is that is going through your head. I do tend to find that some clients will tone it down, and I can tell that they're toning it down. If you've experienced past trauma, you don't have to put the worst thoughts that are going through your head. You can pick something that's not as severe. Because don't forget, the people that assess you are professionals, but they are not mental health professionals. And I had no idea until I started my consultancy at just how many humans have experienced past trauma. No idea. It does need to be, you need to be able to reflect the severity of what's going on in your head. And remember, my clients win. My success rate is so good because everything that we do on PIP and ADP, every form that we submit, no matter what level it's at, is unique to that individual. It's their feelings, their thoughts, their experiences, how they manage it. You have to stand out unique to you. I don't know, this one's very difficult because even though I've explained that to you, I honestly know that it's not enough. Thousands of you, I'm so grateful, thousands of you will figure this out. You will get the points in this section because of this guide. And I'm so happy for you. That's the whole point that I'm doing this. For the people that are truly suffering, for you. There's so many of you that need more support with this. There's so many of you that haven't said things out loud. And that's something that I do experience a lot with clients where they say something and they've literally never said the words out loud before. For those of you, I'm going to say to you what I say to my clients: you need to get help. You need to be able to say to your GP what's happening in your head. You really do. That is another reason why this experience, although it scars us, is life-changing. When I help people do this, and we figured it out and they've said it out loud, and then they go to the GP and they say it bluntly, it helps the GP assess you. Because don't forget, they haven't got much time, they're human beings, they're overworked. You have to cut the crap. That's what this process helps us do. It helps us cut the crap. If you've experienced past trauma, no matter what age, and it impacts you when you leave your home, and you have triggers. So for anyone that doesn't understand what a trigger is, a trigger can be something like a smell. A certain smell, if you smell that smell, it oh, it hits you with that memory. It hits you with the awful person, the back in your head. It can be a noise. It could be a certain item. It could be a certain gender. It could be a certain look. Someone says a saying, a phrase, like someone tutting. You know, those are triggers. If you have triggers, you need to put that in this section as well. Okay. This is so difficult. I know. I think I'm going to say that quite a lot in this. This one's so difficult because it is high points. You've got to be very clear. I hope that helps and it will get you thinking. Okay. So let's look at the ADP. So obviously, for people like me that are quite happy speaking to a stranger, I can always engage with people. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. For those of us that decline as the day goes on and we get really severe brain fog, later in the day, I can't even communicate with my mum sometimes. But I don't get points in this category because on average, if I do leave, or not if, when I leave my home, I am able to talk to strangers. I'm very chatty. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what someone looks like, nothing, it doesn't matter. I'm interested in talking to everyone. Don't forget, they're not interested in brain fog. They haven't caught up when it comes to brain fog, okay? This is another important one. Is there a risk of harm to yourself or others when you engage with people? So it could be physical or emotional. I love the way they've worded this. Someone might see you as vulnerable and take advantage. We have a lot of people in our community, our warriors, our fellow warriors that are vulnerable. I'm registered as vulnerable. I've been robbed in the past. I've absolutely been taken advantage of because my brain's not always there. It's not always there. And I believe people. I just believe this is about us becoming aggressive towards someone or something else, right? So again, this is another difficult one. Have you in the past been aggressive towards anyone? Okay. Now, if you're thinking, yeah, it's a family member, stranger, it doesn't matter who it is. If you've been aggressive, shouted, thrown something, kicked off, it doesn't mean that that's who you are as a person. I get that. But there are many of us that have behaved in that way. It is very good for you to put an example of when that's happened. So say, for example, you're in the local shop and you were having a bad day, someone said something, and that was it. You just kicked off. And now you desperately don't want that to happen again. You don't want it to happen again. It's not who you are as a person. So you avoid going out, you avoid going to the local shop because you don't want that to happen again. Now, you can take that example and does that fit any part of your life? If yes, you need to put in this section an example of what happened, what actually happened, and then be able to explain, I don't want this to happen again. Obviously, if this is how you feel, okay? And I've never worked with someone that's like, yeah, Charlie, I can't wait to kick off at someone again. None of us actually want that, or not anyone I've worked with. We don't want that. It could be that you're the opposite of that. This is what I tend to find. It's fight or flight, isn't it? So people tend to either flare up and be aggressive, or it's the opposite and you're shutting down. So you're masking. It could be that you are finding a corner, you are sitting and you are rocking, crouched as small as you can in the corner, and you need help to come. You need someone you trust to come and get you. Okay? Give that example. It could be that you experience BMD and you've got explosive diarrhea. And that's happened. You've been incontinent and a stranger has noticed. So many people have experienced that. It's horrendous. You would not believe how many people I talk to that have experienced that. We don't want to experience that. We don't want to have that again. So that would be the example. Now, you know when people say, some of the haters are like, oh, she's setting it up so people can be fraudulent. What I never share on social media, and I never will share, is the unique detail that people give me. So I've given you some examples there, but what I haven't said is the feelings or the way the individual explains it. So when someone tells me one of those stories, you listening to me right now, the way you explain your version of what happened to you will say something that I've never heard from someone else before. Now, at the moment, I've only helped hundreds of people face to face. I don't know whether when I've helped thousands of people face to face that I'll start hearing the same thing. But so far, when I do this section with people, they say something I've never heard before. They word it in a way that I've never heard. When they describe their feelings, they'll say something that I'm like, is that how you feel? Is that what it feels like for you? And they're like, yeah. That's what you've got to get out of yourself in this section. It's really important. And I will never share on social media the uniqueness of the individuals, because that's how you tell if someone is lying or not. How did I feel? What would I not say out loud? You might not say it to your loved one because you don't want them to worry even more than they are, or you don't want them to know what's actually going on in your head. That's why sometimes I think it's easier for people to talk to me, because they know that I get chronic illness because I'm suffering as well. But also, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just going to help you get the thoughts out of your head and pick out what's important for PIP and ADP. You can do this. I guarantee you thousands of people will win just from this guide. You can be one of them, but you have to be honest. And being honest about things like this, it's fucking, I get it. My computer beeped. It's a really emotional moment, and it beeped. But I'm going to keep it in because I meant all that. One thing I didn't mention is self-harming. If there's a risk of self-harming, you need to put that in here as well, please. Do you need help? Have you got someone that you don't go out unless that person's with you? That person, or maybe one or two others that you trust, but generally there's one person you feel more comfortable with. And see where they've put, for example, someone to, and they've given examples here. This is really good. And I've been on assessments with people where they will say, why do you feel better if that person's with you? And then the individual will find it difficult to put into words why. So do have a think about that. Do not fall into the trap of thinking, of changing it in your head to, if I was on my own. This isn't about what you could do if your life depended on it, okay? This is, what is your daily life? Have you been out on your own in the past week? Yes, no. Past 2 weeks? Past month? Past 3 months? Do you go out on your own? If no, that's it. We're embarrassed. We're embarrassed. None of us want to be like this. We don't want to be a burden. So it's very easy to talk yourself out of this section, especially in the assessment, where you'll be like, well, I suppose I could on my own. You've got to be honest. All I'm asking you to do is be honest. And do you know what? It's so hard to get people to be honest, because we don't want to admit that we can't go out unless there's someone with us. So obviously in ADP, they've got the breakdown of who do you need help from, how do they help you. Again, in England and Wales, we just get that one blank piece of A4 paper to write on, which is why I'm showing you ADP, because it's such a good layout. For example, I know so many people wouldn't have even thought to put how someone helps them on the form. You wouldn't think to put that without this prompt in. So this is ADP is definitely better than what we've got in the England and Wales. So when it comes to how do they help you engage with others, and see, this is such a difficult question. How do they help you engage with others, and why do you need this help? I can see that most people get completely stuck on this one. Like, I get it. So I'll give you some examples. If you're struggling with something and you look at them, they just know to take over. Or if you hesitate, they know to take over. They know you so well. And it's reassuring for you, knowing that they're there and that they can take over when you're struggling. It's a big comfort blanket having that with you. Now, I've been through phases of my chronic illness where there is no way I'd go out alone. Absolutely not. Not that someone can physically help me walk or deal with the pain, but knowing that that person is with me gives me the strength to be able to try. I'll give you an example on this. So I have a friend called Tristan who helped me go to an event. Okay, so I was doing all right. Now he has no training. He's a friend, but when he was with me, I knew that I didn't need to worry about simple things like using energy to check, is it safe to cross the road? I didn't have to worry about that because my condition was so severe that I needed to be able to focus on putting one foot in front of the other. I needed to focus on not falling over. So I knew that I didn't have to worry about the dangers, that he would worry about that and make sure when it was okay to cross, we crossed. I knew that I didn't have to worry about talking to anyone because I didn't have the physical energy to do that. Not anxiety for me, physical energy. He would deal with anyone that spoke to us, or if anyone was in the way, or if I dropped anything, he would pick it up. My brain and my physical ability was totally absorbed in just keeping moving forward. He did everything else. Would I have attempted that without him? No way. Could it have been a stranger? Absolutely not. Because the stranger wouldn't have understood that when I go quiet, I'm not being rude. I physically don't have the energy to talk. That's a big problem for me. Being around people is when my fatigue kicks in. I just need to be left alone. I just need to not talk. But people worry and they want you to reassure them, which takes more energy, which I don't have. So a stranger can't do that. And certain people aren't suitable for being with me because they worry. They need reassurance. They're nervous in different situations. It's not easy to find someone that truly understands you or knows you enough so that they can take over. So I get it. It's hard to explain that. So think about, like, when I said that I didn't have to worry about crossing the road because he would look out for danger. Think about, what does that person do for you? Because it'll be something different for you. Okay? Think about it, and then that is great for the form. Okay? How often? Now, you know that I'm a fan of averages. They're saying roughly, but I say averages. So if someone is always with you when you go out, you say it. If you're in the category of you only go out at certain times because you want to avoid people where possible, make sure you put that in, okay? Again, try and work out the averages. This bit is really fantastic as well. So how many of you, if you know you've got to go out and you've got to go somewhere, how many of you lose sleep before this happens, spend days or weeks panicking about it, getting stressed, doing research, looking into where you're going? Are you going to make it? Then you're hyper focused on it, then you're exhausted, you don't want to go. So you're already exhausted before you even leave, let alone actually leaving. And then about this bit of how you feel when you engage with other people, we've talked about that quite a bit. If you're like me and you're happy talking to anyone, no points. You don't need to be happy, you need to just, you're all right doing it. Yeah. People that need prompting, as per normal, the prompting section is aimed at people with mental health diagnosis. And this prompting could be that you're only going out for medical appointments. Receiving a letter saying you need to come into the hospital at this time is a form of prompting. Having friends or family members encouraging, supporting, nagging to get you out of the house, taking you out of the house is prompting. Only going out when you've ran out of food is a form of prompting. They do want the prompting to be more someone encouraging you, but I think we need to think about the big picture, okay? So needs social support. So this is, you always have someone with you. So it doesn't say the word always here, but it means it. This is, you always have social support with you. And then we're in to the really high scoring, okay? Cannot engage with people without it causing overwhelming psychological distress to you, the individual, you listening to me. Overwhelming psychological distress means that you're having, if you're mixing with people, it results in you having a panic attack, a meltdown, crying, severe exhaustion, where I have some clients where they will go out and mix when they have to, when they literally got no other choice, but then they will be in bed for days afterwards. It's just too much for them. It's too much. Even though from an outsider point of view, they might be seen out, but they're so good at masking, the impact is horrendous. And if you understood the impact, you'd be like, just stay in or get, you need help. Overwhelming psychological distress, you're rocking in the corner. Yeah, it's bad. And then this category that would result in substantial risk of harm to you or another person. So self-harming, getting aggressive, kicking off, if ever you've thrown anything at someone, hit anyone, smashed up a place, you're in this category. Okay. And I hope that the majority of you watching this aren't in this category. I hope that you're not suffering this much. If you are, really be honest about how it feels to be inside your head. So let's go with our 2 examples. I've spent quite a bit of time talking about the serious cases. I'm going to go that our individual with mental health diagnosis needs prompting. Okay, so I've done the prompting for the mental health condition, which is the 2 points, and then for the physical example, I've done social support due to, what did I put? So I put husband as the example, that you need to make sure you say the person, husband, and then it's due to how far is the toilet, so having to wear a pad because of incontinence. I hope that really helps you figure out your situation, and take your time on this one. I definitely recommend watching my other guides. Anything you can get that triggers that little thought process in your head so you can explain more about what your life is like will help. It is worth you spending time on this if you believe you are entitled to points. So when you come to fill in your form out, obviously we've gone through ADP, and it's got nice step-by-step bits. If you're doing PIP, you're literally going to face a blank piece of paper. So I've done a checklist that will help both wherever you are in the country. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the checklist and discuss the examples I've given you throughout this video. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So the first bit of the checklist, by the way, this is free. If you go into the description of this video, click on the website and then go to YouTube templates. Actually, I don't know if it's called that. Let's check. So if you go onto the website and you see where it says free PIP templates, I need to change that to PIP and ADP. Oh, actually, I'll just say free templates. Click on that bit and then scroll down. And there's the checklist, completely free to download. Obviously, you can have access to all of these. Anything that's going to help you, it's there. So the first bit of the checklist is really important things that you need to remember and constantly think about, that I always talk about, but just there to keep it in your head when you're not watching me. And then we're going to go through these bits. Right, let's do the mental health version of the form first. How often do you do this on average? So you could write on the form, I always have to be prompted before going out. Number 2, why are you only able to do it that often? Refer to condition and symptoms. It just helps me, even though I do this all the time, I always refer to the points and the notes I've made when I'm doing this. So you could write on the form, without prompting, I would not go out due to the severity of my depression and anxiety. I don't feel safe. Obviously, these are the examples that we've used throughout this guide. Don't write this down word for word. It's to help you as a starting point when you write your own form, which is unique to you. Number 3, what help do you have? So this is specifically the prompting that aids. Yeah. I can't remember if on this, sometimes I think during this guide I've said husband, sometimes I think I've said mum. Obviously it's relevant to you, but let's say I said mum. By the way, that's a really good example, because when I speak to clients, there's a few people where it's a couple of people will be the prompt in them. You've got to be consistent in your form. So if sometimes it's your mum, sometimes it's your dad or your partner, whoever it is, make sure I would just pick one person and be consistent throughout the form. Keep it simple. If they ask you if there's more than one person, you can explain. They don't really, but just keep it simple, okay? My mum is the one that nags me to go out. Number 4, check the points and refer to specifics for you. Now, because I always do it like this, because I've been methodical, I know that this person doesn't need the social support. They're able to go out on their own, this person that we've created for this video. And they are able to go out without it causing overwhelming psychological distress. So we've made sure that we've communicated about every part that the DWP is assessing. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? Now, I have said if you're doing PIP, I wouldn't include this, but I'm in this checklist, I'll give you an example. Before going out, my anxiety is much worse. After I've been out, I feel completely drained and I'm not able to move from the sofa for days due to my condition. For some people, it's weeks. There's been periods of my life where if I've gone out, I can be impacted for months. So again, it's unique to you. Have a think about that. The most important one, number 6, can we evidence it? No. So we haven't put our big green E. Again, because statements from family members, friends, anyone that is like considered a loved one, it's not relevant. They're not going to take it. It wouldn't hold up in a court of law. They're not interested in it. They do say to do this, but I promise you it's a complete waste of time. Even if someone from DWP does a YouTube video or goes on the news and says, no, we look at these, it doesn't help your case. Okay, so unfortunately, there isn't evidence that you can put in for this. At the end of this video, I'm going to put a link to the evidence full video so you can watch it, because there are other potential pieces of evidence that you could use to back up the severity of your mental health conditions. Okay, but I'm not going to go into it in this video. Right, so now we'll do the physical condition. I've just split it to mental health and physical to give you more examples, but obviously if you have both conditions, pick the most severe one for the section that you're working on. For example, we're doing engaging with people face to face. So if it's your physical condition that causes you more issues, write about that. If it's your mental health condition that causes you more issues, write about that. Pick the most important one. How often, on average, do you do this? So on the form, in this example that we're doing, I would write, I only go out when I have medical appointments that cannot be done over the phone. Why are you only able to do it that often? Linked to conditions and symptoms. When I go out, I find it too much. It's overwhelming for me. And my pain increases massively because of the moving around. Number 3, what help do you have? Remember, on this one, this is where we need to be clear to them that within the DWP's assessment process, the person's life that we're describing fits into this category. So we're going to be very clear. I don't ever bold and underlined or anything like that, or say, so this is 4 points. Don't ever do that. They're paid to assess you. They know how to categorize you. We just need to communicate clearly. On the form, I would write, I never go out unless my husband is with me. Or you could put something like, I only go out if my husband is with me, or whoever that person is. Number 4, check the points and refer to specifics. Now, because obviously I'm doing this and I do this all the time, I know that I have not missed anything when looking at this example that we're doing. But I've put that on the checklist to keep making sure you go back to the points, okay? I cannot express how important it is. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? On the PIP form, I wouldn't include this personally, but I'm going to give you some examples if you want to. When I mix with people that I am not fully comfortable with, I feel tense, I'm more stressed, and I find it exhausting. When I get home, after being around strangers, it takes me days to recover because of my pain and fatigue. Because my pain and fatigue increases so much in those situations due to the arthritis. Number 6, is there any evidence we could include? Unfortunately, this is the same again, where I say don't bother including statements from friends and family. It's when you do the assessment, it's not about them speaking for you. You have to speak for yourself, or they want you to speak for yourself. It's about how you communicate it. They're not going to pay attention to it. If you say, I only go out with my husband, they will accept that. It's no good your husband saying, she'll only go out without me. There is no photographic evidence that we can simply put in. But again, watch the evidence video for more information on that. Done.